Now, it has been described as the worst unsolved terrorist attack on the UK mainland. But despite a new police investigation into the Birmingham Pub Bombings, the Crown Prosecution Service say no one will face criminal charges.
Let's just remind ourselves. So bombs were set off at two city centre pubs in Birmingham on the 21st of November 1974. 21 people died as a result and another 200 were injured.
6 innocent men, known as the Birmingham Six, were released in 1991 when their convictions for the bombings were quashed. They had served 16 years in prison.
Over the years, West Midlands Police have reviewed any new evidence to come forward in the case, the latest coming to light last year. However, prosecutors now say they cannot bring charges despite a thorough and careful review of the new evidence.
We're joined now by Julie Hambleton, whose sister Maxine died in the tragedy. Morning to you, Julie. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. First of all, I know this has dominated your life for decades. I'm curious to know your reaction to this update from the CPS.
Good morning. Well, we've become accustomed to being let down. It's just another sad occasion of being treated with contempt and being ignored. But I would like to say on behalf of our families, this is very important, that we'd like to extend our heartfelt condolences to the mummies and daddies and the families of the babies taken at the hands of Lucy Letby, who yesterday was quite rightly given full life tariffs. This is in total contrast to this government pushing to give the killers of our loved ones an amnesty. There were 21 souls taken, murdered in cold blood, that also left 200 people with life-changing injuries. How is it possible for any government in any democratic westernised society to differentiate between one murder and another? Murder is murder is murder. For us, for all of our families, and all families across Northern Ireland who are together in opposing this bill, the Northern Ireland Troubles Legacy and Reconciliation Bill, to us, it is tantamount to moral, ethical and legal turpitude.
Julie, this is the bill that the government says it is absolutely committed to, but you are saying that it's what you regard as being an amnesty. But it's going to happen, isn't it, by the looks of things? In which case, what do you want to happen now?
Since 2014, we've been actually pushing for a statutory public inquiry. A statutory public inquiry would give us access to documentation that we haven't been given access to before. It would give us control over terms of reference and so on and so forth. Let's put this into perspective. You have Grenfell, the Manchester Arena bombing, Hillsborough, Factor 8 blood inquiry, and many more. God bless them all. You know, we stand shoulder to shoulder with them. But where's our public inquiry? Unfortunately, if you study all of these against the Birmingham Pub Bombings in 1974, you have, in essence, what is known and has become known as political policing and political justice. Because anything to do with Northern Ireland or the odd scenario that's called the Troubles, and anything to do with the politics thereof, with policing and justice, it just seems to us to be completely off limits to be investigated, especially anything to do with Republican violence. And our case could not be more poignant or more to the point, more profoundly than with this amnesty bill, because what they are doing and what we can't understand, and this is thousands of families, is why mainstream media aren't covering this. Why aren't the BBC, who are there to educate and inform, why aren't you discussing this atrocious, obscene piece of legislation that this government are trying to push through? You know, we do struggle but we strive to try and maintain our belief in the justice system. And that's why we're currently in the process of waiting to have a meeting with the Justice Minister and the Home Office to discuss our serious concerns we have surrounding the murder of our loved ones, but also waiting for our decision for us too to have the same equality that others have had, to have a statutory public inquiry. You cannot give to one and not to another, because what they are creating is a hierarchy of victims. We can't call ourselves a democracy if we have a hierarchy of victims.
Julie, you're still grieving your sister Maxine, who was killed. All those other families are still grieving their loved ones all these years on from 1974. You say you're going to meet with a minister soon. Do you get any indication from government that that public inquiry you're calling for is going to happen? Do you feel that you're making any progress?
Well, yes, actually. We had a meeting with Priti Patel when she was Home Secretary, and out of all the Home Secretaries we've met, I have to say that she was the most forward-thinking, and she was moved. You could tell she was moved. And she did keep her promises while she was in office up to the point that she could. We haven't heard from this Home Secretary, but we are awaiting at this meeting with Tom Tugendhat, I think it is, to discuss having a statutory public inquiry. You see, the Northern Ireland Troubles and Legacy Reconciliation Bill, otherwise known as the Amnesty Bill, according to this government, is a means to try and stop any future vexatious prosecutions against soldiers. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is their end game. What they are trying to do is to literally bury the security services' dirty, toxic past of collusion and complicity. And that's what this is all about. It's got nothing to do with soldiers. This is all to do with the complicity and the collusion that took place during the Troubles. And in the process of them trying to implement this horrendous bill, is they are going to literally wipe away any chance of justice for any family with anything to do with the Northern Ireland Troubles. Now, what I need to point to perspective for you here is that anyone who was killed or injured on what is known as the mainland in England never came under the Good Friday Agreement. When Tony Blair, in his hubris, decided to try and help bring about the GFA, the Good Friday Agreement, he didn't even give a thought, not one thought, for those who were killed and injured on English soil. But with this bill, the government had just decided to wrap us all into the same bubble and literally not only bury our dead, but rebury them and hopefully bury us next to our dead as well, because we dare raise our heads above the parapet to ask questions. We had a meeting with Brandon Lewis, I think it was last year when it was Northern Ireland's Secretary of State, and he wrote a piece in the Telegraph discussing how the paramilitaries, the terrorists, never kept records, but the British state kept excellent records, and he was trying to imply that this was the best way forward for us to move on. Such hubris, such arrogance, it's just contemptible that they are literally trying to wipe away every chance of justice. Once this law becomes legislated, no family will be able to bring a civil case or any criminal case ever. So the murderers will walk free.
Julie.
What kind of society is it where we accept that?
Julie Hambleton, thank you so much for talking to us here on BBC Breakfast this morning. That's Julie Hambleton, founder of Justice for the 21. And we do have a response from the government, who have said, we will continue to listen to the families of the victims and their representatives, and the Security Minister intends to meet with them soon.
It's 20